This is the PlayFootball.com podcast, and I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America. It is Rewind Wednesday as we go back to January 26, 2012, and our interview with NFL legend quarterback Shane Matthews, who had just taken over the head coaching job at Nease High School in Florida. At that point, Nease was a national name because it was the alma mater of Tim Tebow, who led the Panthers to a state championship during his senior season. The Nease job was the first head coaching job for the former NFL quarterback, who had spent a little bit of time as a volunteer assistant at Gainesville High School. Matthews led Nease for 2 years before returning to the assistant coaching ranks, and he's currently back at Gainesville High. Now it's time to rewind to that 2012 interview with Matthews, who was excited to follow in the family footsteps of his father, who was a legendary Hall of Fame high school football coach at Pascagoula High School in Mississippi. Together, father and son won a Mississippi High School State Football Championship in 1987. Kicking off High School Football America tonight in the state of Florida, and the new head coach of the Nease Panthers. His name is Shane Matthews. You may know that name because he was an NFL quarterback for 14 years, and he joins us now to talk about the new job. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Well, glad for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, people that listen to our show know we've had a lot of former NFL players on lately, and they've had a lot of success. Gus Frerotte in Missouri, Don Beebe in Illinois. So let's kind of start with the obvious question. You know, the background is in the NFL, but somewhere along the line, back in the day in Mississippi, you were a high school player. Why have you decided to go back to the roots of the game and become a head coach in football?
Well, I'm a high school coach's son. I grew up around the game ever since I was a toddler, going to practices and just enjoyed Friday nights. And, you know, I feel like a high school coach can have more influence on a kid than any other coach that he'll ever have. So, when you play as long as I was fortunate enough to play, it's kind of hard to get into the college ranks and stuff like that because they feel like you need to work your way up the totem pole like most college coaches do. So, I've looked at a lot of different jobs the last 3, 4, 5 years, and this is one that I felt was a great fit. It's a great academic school, one of the top in the country, and they've had some success, in the football ranks, and hopefully we can bring that back.
Yeah, well, the name Tim Tebow, it's his alma mater, comes to the top of the list, so probably a little bit more of a spotlight on you there. Let's talk about what you're doing, because when we chatted the other night, you said it's been a little crazy trying to put together a staff. So tell me what it's like, doing it at this level as opposed to the NFL, where you had people doing stuff for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tiring, but it's something that I enjoy. I love putting together a staff. I guess the hardest part at the high school level is being a public school is you got to find, the coaches you bring in. Are they a math teacher, science teacher, social studies? What do they teach, and how you can fit them into the school system? So that's the toughest part right now. But we're adding a few guys here and there, and hopefully have my staff finalized here in the next couple of weeks.
So tell me a little bit about the first meeting with the kids. I'm sure you've met with the team, whether it's individually or as a group. So what was the reaction from the team that you've had so far?
Well, we had about 95 kids show up in my initial meeting with the players. Last year, their numbers were way, way down, and a lot of these players, they don't know who I am or anything about me. But one thing that I tried to stress to them was we're going to be fundamentally sound. We're going to go out and have fun and play a good brand of football. And if you do that at the high school level, if you're smart about it, you can formation teams to death offensively and know exactly what you're going to get. You can have a successful program. So that's our plan is to, make sure our kids are doing what they have to do in the classroom, and then all that will translate over to the football field.
When I spoke to Gus Frerotte back in December before their championship game, talked about his philosophy going into coming out of the NFL, where West Coast or whatever the new wide open term is a big thing, and he brought it to his program there. I mean, do you see your background as an NFL quarterback playing in wide open type offenses being something that you're going to bring down to the high school level?
Well, I hope so. I think high school coaches, you kind of have to adapt to what the talent level you have at your school. One year you may have a big-time quarterback who can throw it all over the park, and then, he graduates, and then you may have a running-type quarterback. So I got to wait and kind of see what kind of players we have, what they've done in the past. But, yeah, I would love to be, kind of I don't want to call it pro-style wide open, what have you, but I want to throw it around a little bit because I think you can do that if you got a quarterback that can make good decisions at the high school level. But if we have to run it 40 or 50 times a game, we'll do that. So hopefully we can be kind of balanced.
That's the beauty of the high school game. We are talking with Shane Matthews, the new head coach at Nease High School in Florida. And, Coach, one of the things that I always like to talk about, especially with guys that have played at your level and are now stepping back, usually you played in a different level of high school. And what I mean by that is the media pressure wasn't there as it is on these kids and you as a coach. So how do you think, and I know you've been an assistant the last couple of years, how do you think the game has changed from back when you were in Mississippi playing high school ball?
Well, like you said, it's just the exposure. You got all these different recruiting services, all these different all-star games. It's basically crazy. And, I mean, you can go anywhere on any website now and find out who the top 50 quarterbacks in the country are supposed to be. So I think that's the biggest thing. And, I mean, Nike and Under Armour, all these different brands are getting into the high schools and throwing money at them. And it's become very, very competitive. But, that's what I'm trying to do at Nease High School. We want to build our program like a small college program. Do things the right way, have good facilities, and play a good brand of football. If you do that, kids will want to come play for you.
You mentioned that you're the son of a high school coach. Tell me a little bit about what your father may have taught you way back in the day that you hope to bring to the high school level. Are there a couple of key foundation pieces from him that you're going to be that are a part of you and will be part of your program?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I remember my dad having to be somewhat of a father figure to a lot of kids that may come from broken families or what have you. And, that's one thing that I enjoyed doing the years that I volunteered as a high school coach, is trying to take some guys under your wings and teach them, football's not everything. We got to get an education if you want to be successful in life. So, I'm here for these kids. I want to develop them, obviously, on the football field. But me and my staff want to make sure that they're doing the right things in class. They're teaching respecting your teachers, the other people within the booster club. Because if you do things right, you will be successful in life.
So tell me a little bit about, and we talked when we first set up this interview, the fact that John Kitten is now the new head coach in Lincoln, at Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington. I mentioned Gus Farrat, Don Beebe, both of them doing well. Why are more and more NFL players, heading to the high school ranks? Or is it just one of those things that maybe you guys get more notoriety when somebody signs you to be their head coach?
Well, when you look at it, especially Gus and John Kitten, we were all quarterbacks, and so I think we enjoy, trying to dissect the defense, just the competitive nature of the game. And when you retire at such a young age, you really don't have that burning desire anymore, and so you got to go get it somewhere. And that's coaching football, something we've done our entire life. And plus, I said earlier, when you play as long as we did, I got 14 years in. I think Kitten played more than that, and Gus may have as well. It's hard to get into the college ranks because those coaches feel like you need to start as like a graduate assistant and work your way up. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time because, we're getting up there in age. And plus a lot of us have, you have kids and families. And, at the high school level, you may get to coach your kid. You can take some time away to go watch if you have younger kids playing flag football or what have you. It's not as demanding as the NFL and coaching jobs.
Yeah, I think one of the things Don Beebe said that really kind of made everybody sit up and listen was he said when he won the state championship this past year in Illinois, he actually had more pleasure winning that than he did playing in any Super Bowl, which I thought was an interesting comment and really showed his love of going back to the roots. So let's wrap up with some of the goals that you've set. I know you're just in a weekend, you're putting the staff together, but have you thought about what those 5 first goals are for 2012?
Well, I mean, obviously we want to have a winning record. They haven't had a winning record there in a while. Have a winning record, win our district, and get in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. I mean, there's a lot of goals out there. I mean, I haven't really sat down with the team. We're just trying to. I've only been on the job for a week, so we're just trying to get the staff in place where we can get after it in our all-season workout programs and go from there.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. We wish you the best of luck and enjoy this first year. I'm sure it's going to be a fun run for you.
Well, thanks for having me.
That's PlayFootball.com's Rewind Wednesday interview from 2012 with NFL legend Shane Matthews, who played 14 years in the National Football League. Hey, coaches, don't forget to check out PlayFootball.com for some great resources to help you improve in the coaching profession. Next week on PlayFootball.com's Rewind Wednesday, I'll talk with NFL legend and Pro Football Hall of Fame cornerback Ken Houston. I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and you've been listening to the PlayFootball.com podcast.